All right, what's up, guys? Game 2 of the day. We've got Cloud9 versus LNG. This is the winner's bracket, 1-0. The winner of this will go immediately into best of threes to try to make it into the knockout stages. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention in the last video was there could be a vast discrepancy of experience in games in the Worlds going into the knockouts, meaning you could go 2-0 and then 2-0 your best of three and you're in. But you could also go 2-0 and then lose your best of three 1-2. You could lose your best of three 1-2 and then win a best of three 2-1. You could go into the knockouts with as many as 11 games played in this format compared to 4, right? And if we compare those two teams, one team that's been on the bench for 3 days waiting to see what's happening, how things shake out, yeah, they were really strong to get there quickly. But some people would rather be that 11 game battle tested team. So it'll be really interesting to see how that shakes out. But without further ado, let's check out the draft for this game. Cloud9 has been the best performing North American team. We started with a Kalista Maokai Zaya ban, matched by Talia, Orianna, and Jarvan. Now this Orianna-Jarvan combination being gone, this is sort of an ease of execution thing. One thing that some of these Eastern teams do to North American teams is they take away ease of execution and they try to make things a little bit more complicated. Say, all right, I want you guys to outplay us and see if you can do that. And up until now, it's been a rarity. It's been very rare that NA teams have been able to hold their own. Something I do want to go into looking at the draft. This is where Renekton belongs. Okay, Renekton, yes, very strong. It's fine, but you're much better off picking him blue 4 or red 4, all right? Taking him in this position where it's like, okay, I don't know what my top lane matchup's going to be. I'm fine playing Renekton. This is going to be okay. This is where I expect these champions to be. Now, the Rumbles and Kennons, the counterpicks of the world, they might still exist going into these situations. So that's how you avoid that dynamic. It also gets you the traditional start that you tend to want in these drafts, which is secure my bot lane, secure my jungler, get the best in meta that I can for those positions, and then play for counter picks or whatever rounds out the composition. So I love this composition that they've put together for themselves. Sejuani Renekton, we've seen it before. It is exceptionally strong. There are lots of opportunities for Sejuani to look for aggressive paths that can dominate the early game. You also have Kai'Sa Rakan, Kai'Sa being the most flexible carry in the game. This was answered by early Lee Sin and early Alistar. That makes tons of sense. Pairing it with Azir, very nice. You couldn't get it with Syndra, or they could have gotten it with Syndra, but they're sort of showing where they think Syndra belongs. Even if you have the opportunity to get Lee Sin Syndra, you don't want to make your team just this one trick of, hey, I've got this neat synergy of Syndra plus Lee Sin. You know, we can get 2 kills maybe in laning phase and go from there. You have to understand, like, what is the goal of the whole team? And Azir just unleashes way more damage than Syndra does. Syndra is far too weak until she gets that final scaling, and even when she does, it's not like she's suddenly just a end game final boss. And then lastly, we see Tristana being used. Tristana Alistar has tremendous kill threat, especially level 2, where they're going to go in level 2 and 3. They're going to try to kill Kai'Sa. So those are the dynamics that we're looking for going into this game. Beautifully well-rounded team by Cloud9. Looks like we're going for a little bit of exploitation from the bot lane and trying to play super aggressively, saying that we can take them. But you know what? Berserker is probably the best carry that we've ever had in NA. So I'm excited to see how this game shakes out. All right, we get some high production value. Scope on, slow motion. I love it. Good stuff, guys. I want more stuff. I want more cinematics like that. All right, we see early fan out. Sejuani going for an early ward. We're going to see a lot of Raptors prio. Again, Sejuani is one of the best champions at clearing Raptors. She's basically the reason that Raptors was buffed in 1320 if you're playing live. They have an extra 100 HP. This is to stop the tanks from just basically one-shotting the camp and being able to move through. Sejuani with wonderful AoE damage can play through that and then look to play into mid lane. From there, you see a lot of inside-out prio. You're also going to see some amount of Sejuani and Renekton combination. Now, Azir, this is an interesting adaptation right here. Putting this ward in a position where it's not seen. It doesn't give you as much information, but it's also not seen. So if there is an invade, perhaps you will know about it and not be able to be exploited. We also saw adaptations into Jax, where Jax rarely puts their ward down, and we saw flash over this pit to go take out the red buff and then immediately into a gank up top. If Sejuani had hidden in this bush, she could go here, flash over this wall, grab this pit, and then go for this engage. And this play right here would walk right into the hands of that. So if I'm playing against LNG, that is part of the scouting report. I will take note of that. That Hex Flash on Sejuani would absolutely be a play that's available against them. Instead, we're going to see Leash on bot side. Sorry, was it Leash? No, we just have Sejuani red into Krugs going for Raptors, Lee Sin going for full clear to answer. We saw it previously that if enemy team starts Raptors, then you can start red, and then you end up here taking this, and then you're on 7 camps challenging them for Raptors. We're not going to get that this game because we have Lee Sin matching tempo. They're going to look to battle as much as possible. Lee Sin wants to show up where Sejuani is and pick fights. Sejuani wanting to end up there second. This path will also put Lee Sin in a position to get to bot lane for second camps with money in pocket. Basically all 7 camp rotations, unless you have Future Sight, you're not going to be able to get something like Serrated Dirk or Iron Spike Whip out of these situations. You tend to only get a pickaxe if you're Lee Sin and if you're building into Gore Drinker. So you don't get that full extra value going in if you do get that all-in fight. Another path that can be available to you is, I'm obviously starting top, going to bottom, but we've also seen Raptors into blue Gromp, and then you cycle back, and this is a way that you can get your Raptors respawning and still end up topside to match the Sejuani. So anyways, all of those theoretical battles, we get none of them. Rakan is opting to move over. If he catches wind of this recall and stops it, that would be a tremendous advantage for them. It looks like Scout actually stops it themselves. Very nicely done. All right, I love it. If you're even contemplating about recalling, that's the best thing to do. Step back. I might stay. I might not. I might leave. I might stay. By stepping back and starting the channel on the recall, you can at least be ready to continue choosing both options. Opts to stay on the Rakan timer, buying extra time for themselves. This does mean that Kai'Sa has to step away from the bot lane, and it means that we're going to have a battle for wards in this bush right here. Lee Sin is already coming back out, has decided to stay on this side of the map, circled back around to come for the bot side scuttle, and is looking for a fight here, and he's looking for the Gromp respawn. Single target junglers can prioritize Gromp over Raptors if that's where their significant damage comes from. Normally you're going to see from Lee Sin in this situation that he uses Smite. I'm surprised he didn't because Q2 has execute damage on it. So generally when you're arriving, you just want to hit that Smite and make sure that you've got extra tempo to your advantage. Perhaps he has it timed out that he doesn't need the extra time because he's already killing it in time to get to Wolves. Now, taking stock of situations, Tristana's going to get the first back on 36. We'll see if she goes for a Noon Quiver build or whether or not she goes for a Serrated Dirk or Berserker Greaves. Looks like Berserker Greaves is the option. This is a nice modal purchase that can be offensive and defensive. It lets you step up. It lets you play aggressively while also being able to retreat. So I like that. Kai'Sa opting to just take the earlier recall while Rakan was on the roam timer, spending 650 instead of 1100, and saying, you know what, I'll just take this small little stat increase, make myself a little bit safer to the all-in potential. Again, we've talked about that level 3 window being the weakest time for the Rakan Kai'Sa against Tristana Alistar, and they didn't actually need to fight against it. All right, so that roaming timer was perfectly scripted. If that's on purpose, I have to applaud Cloud9, and I have to say that they are playing so tuned in that that is going to be super promising for this game. I'll reiterate it one time. They hit level 3, Rakan roamed, Kai'Sa recalled, and then they played and avoided that spike entirely. They avoided that situation. Kai'Sa comes back to lane with longsword and boots and now says, hey, do you want to fight me still? And suddenly Tristana Alistar are forced into, okay, I guess we'll just take a CS lead, push the wave, and come back later. All right, so expertly played by Cloud9. We do have a pause, so let's see where this game resumes. It looks like it was a short one. And there we go. Yeah, we haven't missed a thing. 540. So we're going to see level 6s here from the solo laners. The fact that we had that little bit of a brawl means that we have a little bit of a delay on the Syndra spike here, sharing some XP with Rakan, but you do generate more experience in the game by doing that. Now we do have the crashing wave saying that we're comfortable with our advantage. We have the stacking wave, so we're going to go push up. Gala's fighting for the wave, which means that now the all-in is back on the menu. Also with the Berserker Greaves, we'll be happy to take this big fight. And you see again, Kai'Sa Rakan not giving them the option, saying we understand that we lose, we're leaving, we crash the wave with the protection of our minions, and then we go for our shop and come back. Rakan's taking the actual full back. Kai'Sa looks like they're going to stay, saying, hey, you know, this is what we did last time. If you think that we're doing it again, maybe I can get some alone time for Kai'Sa under turret, help her to get to a fast 6. This could mean that she could get level 6 as early as pre-8, which means that she might be able to fight for the Herald. We'll see if the rabbit hole goes that deeply. Ends up picking up the wave, now goes for the shop. It's the 7-minute wave, so we're talking about cannon waves. A little bit harder to get this wave all the way in, and it buys time for Kai'Sa to get back in. Only going to miss 1 melee, maybe 2, and should be able to catch up on the end of the cannon here. We'll see if this timing is, if it's done as perfectly as I think. And it looks like it is. There she is. Perfectly done. You missed 2 melees. This is immaculate macro laning from the bot lane. I absolutely love what C9 is doing for themselves here. It is so nice to see people playing it to this level of perfection. Whether or not you actually gain or lose advantage, it feels like they've gained nothing, right? It feels like such a small thing, but you've taken away the windows from this Tristana Alistar lane that were meant to kill you. Okay, and instead they've avoided it. Now they've constantly come back with stat advantages. All right, more gold in inventory, 1600 versus 1100 means that they're more than happy to take these fights now. You do have a window right at this moment where Tristana hit 6 before Kai'Sa, but Kai'Sa with the fast 6 as well. And you see this 8 minutes. This is very, very quick for AD carries to get this. We'll see if this turns into adaptations for Rift Herald. Probably not, since we already saw them take the dragon. That means C9 is going to get the tempo advantage and the gold advantage from this rift. They do have the winning lane up and top. Renekton will win against Jax. It's basically impossible for Jax to win unless Renekton punts. If Renekton throws his W into a counter-strike, then yes, suddenly it becomes very Jax favored. If they're just slamming buttons into each other, then it's the same thing, right? But if you go and you're just using your E in response to the counter-strike jump, you say, okay, put 2 spells on cooldown, I will dodge, and then I will come back in while I'm stronger, and you have that window while counter-strike is down to just dominate the lane. Not just that, but you always have better pushing and better sustain. So that's how you play this lane. You just allow them to be strong for a moment, allow them to win a trade by a tiny bit, and then you come back and heal it up. Q2 being missed by Lee Sin, but it doesn't really matter. It's still going to be a win here for the Azir. All right, so nice kill picked up for themselves there. M&S biting the dust into the Azir Lee Sin combo. Like we spoke about before, if you've been paying attention to all the broadcasts, Azir changes, his ultimate changes its use as the game goes on. Level 6 through 10, it's an engage tool. All right, basically on one item, people are not strong enough to punish you. You can shuffle in, push someone back, create a 2v1 or a 3v2 in a position that is favorable for you. All right, so that is what they got out of that interaction. Later in the game, it's going to be a reposition tool. When you still have small breakout skirmishes, people, again, still can't punish you. You're happy to still dive in, but you're going to reposition the fight. And then in the end of the game, it is a full peel where you're going to change the direction of the fight and say, all right, this is where we're going to create this distance. This is where it is. Or if I can wombo combo it with something like an Alistar Pulverize or Jack's Big Stun, if we can get some sort of setup, then I can use this as a combo. I push in, I slide you, I throw my Q over the wall. And that is how the ultimate kind of shifts its power over the course of the game. As it goes later and later, there's going to be fewer situations where you just dive into the team because obviously you get punished too much. But we see a beautiful shuffle here from Scout. Even though Q2 misses from Lee Sin, you actually kind of don't mind because you definitely want this kill to be on to Scout. Now, taking stock, rest of the lanes, Lee Sin feeling himself pretty confident here. Doesn't have the rest of the stacks available. We ended up seeing early Radiant Virtue being picked up. Still has the Herald, so I'd like to see Sejuani using this right now. Has put all of their efforts into the early Radiant Virtue, so is very strong for a fight here. Has their ultimate available, has the extra stats and the extra healing. I'd like to see them go for a play and then try to get these stacks down while it's most impactful so that your team can play with spikes and enemy team cannot. Now, as always, we see Merc Treads into Syndra. This will basically happen 100% of the time. Damage profiles are pretty nice. Lee Sin, Jax, nice combinations. They can get a lot done, but I do love this Sejuani with Syndra and Renekton. It makes it very easy to play Syndra later in the game. When you have this threat of Sejuani diving into the team, people tend to bundle themselves up. That it's a little bit more predictable. I like it so much better than putting it with Lee Sin or with Diego. Because you still have stun lock combination, you still have that for your team, but you're doing it with a tank. And your tank with the early kill threat, Sejuani has really high base damage at the beginning of the game. You can still get those kills, but in the late game you can transition and make it more about pivots and being able to position yourself and play the positional game. I like how Kai'Sa's stepping back. Notice how when you step back, never approach that bush. All right, well, we'll pause for a moment. They take aggro, they drop back. Fudge is going to restore himself. You got Chain CC, beautiful by Blabber, waiting till the aggro drops, throwing out a new stun, and then using that stun permafrost to land the ultimate, and they are able to secure that kill for themselves. Wonderfully done. Not just that, but it means Renekton's going to have a point of strength now. 17 CS to the lead and 5 plates to their advantage. The entire turret going down means this Renekton is going to be a menace. Fudge showing us how Renekton's supposed to be played against Jax. I mean, maybe a lot of it has to do with having a Sejuani as a teammate versus a Lee Sin. But largely, Blabber is the one to credit for this, right? You've got so much of an advantage early game. These fights are always going to favor you. You're so tanky. Like, look how much he's able to take for himself. Plus, he's got this Radiant Virtue, which means that it's going to feel like he took no damage for that dive. It was so free. Now we have reposition from Kai'Sa. They are able to get the majority chunk, but Berserker with that big shield, able to stay alive. That is so crucial that when you go top lane dive, you can answer and not die in the bot lane yourself. That is such a big deal, and they're able to consolidate that victory. Now you don't have to give up a return point of strength, right? The Tristana, despite getting 4 plates in the bot lane, constantly threatening and making Cloud9 play to the edge of getting the most resources without ever fully giving up the disadvantage that was created in the draft stage, means that Berserker relative to Gala is going to be much stronger than Zika is relative to Fudge. That's going to make these fights much easier to play for the team. They don't have that super fed Tristana. Azir is ahead by a bit, but again, it's not that much. Like we said, ease of execution can be so nice for these games when you have Sejuani, Renekton, Syndra, Rakan. Like, very easy to see your windows. A lot of chain CC. Should be pretty easy to execute. But we're going to have to deal with this massive Azir. Now, something I don't like truly in this format, having Lucid into Liandry's, feels like you're very much fishing for that one. You're fishing multiple chances for that one hit, but none of them are going to be that impactful. Not to mention that Liandry's isn't that good into the enemy team. I don't like to see this. I prefer to see, if you're going to go Lucid or Merc Treads, that you go into Ludens so that you can do a significant chunk of damage when you do find that window. Sven using Flash to dodge over. Happy to trade 1 skill for Azir Ultimate at level 11. That is a big cooldown that's going to be stuck for them. Zika trying to go opposite side map, avoiding the Renekton, saying, I can't fight this. You're going to see Azir match Renekton from here on out, because basically until 3 items now, you just can't do it as Jax. All right, you can't, even when you're stacking up this the passive stacks, the extra auto attacks, it's not enough with the grasp. The grasp is supposed to get you through laning phase close to even. If you don't get it, then it's just like we saw 5 years ago with Camille's into Volibears. Yes, you can have this grasp that helps you survive the lane phase against a champion that's very good against you. But then if you still lose, then it's now you're a grasp Jax that isn't strong enough in the side lane relative to this Renekton who's much bigger than you, if that makes sense. So we'll see how Cloud9 uses that point of strength. They're going to be able to be proactive and move Renekton across the map and force LNG to send Jax away. Azir will have to pick up those waves, basically just clear them out, send them off, and then come back to the team. We'll see if Cloud9 is able to maneuver the team, say like, hey, all right, can we pull you over here? And then can we take advantage of that state? Now, right now, with 1 minute until Dragon, we're going to expect to see Renekton strong. I like how he's still giving Jax the room that he needs. It's like, okay, like, yes, I'm stronger than you, but you're still Divine Sundra. You're still Jax. I still don't want to just like go head to head in the middle of this thing. He's going to wait for cooldowns and then come back, press up, and then heal up, be a little bit stronger on the next rotation. Each rotation that you do gets Jax a little bit lower in health, a little bit lower on mana, and eventually Renekton can go for the all-in. Scout shuffling in, Rakan dashing out, showing how slippery they can be. Potentially had a window there for an ult, but very dangerous to go. You've got a little bit of fog of war, but look how far LNG has pressed up right now. They've pressed up all the way past this dragon. They're looking at the respawn. We've got the first teleport coming from Renekton. Jax is not answering, so Jax is going to go and turn this into a push, but this should become a tremendous win for them right here. Zika is trying to peel everything. The fact that he was able to get that wave in and then do a full peel here at only the cost of his flash is actually fantastic for them, but they're still going to lose this dragon, all right? What can they get in return? I like Azir's teleport top, saying, okay, you can have our dragon. We're going to go answer top. Cloud9 upping the tempo, saying, okay, I re-raise. I love to see this. Re-raise, just aggressive. Just like in poker, aggressive strategies work best. They're going to eviscerate that turret, and they have the Herald coming all the way into the base, into the inner right here. Tarzan actually going for a little bit of an engage, but really just doing it to get an HP lead so that they can go after the Herald. Sejuani and Kai'Sa had already recalled, so they didn't get greedy. They could have gone and re-raised the Azir all in and said, all right, like, how long are you willing to stay here? Because we're going to continue pushing. We know that you have 0 teleports, right? And the fact that you have 0 teleports means we can leave you in the top lane. We could have been strong. So I would have preferred to see Cloud9 actually muscle in with the Herald, with the numbers advantage. They absolutely could have traded this outer turret for this inner, all right? And that combination would have given them an extra 500 gold to fight in the next situation. Good job stepping back, peeling off against Azir. This is a dangerous position against an Azir because Azir can deal so much damage to you, but they end up just peeling back, and this is what starts the dominoes falling. We're going to go dragon. Okay, fine, I'll go push top. Okay, you're pushing top, I'll go push bot. But Cloud9 is the first one to balk, and they end up not getting the maximum. So they left something, they left bullets in the chamber, if you will. Fudge going to be very strong here still. We'll get another spike on second item. Looking against this team, what you might see, I mean, there's a decent split here. Jax does a reasonable amount of magic damage. Obviously, Azir is the big source here. You might see armor stacking or something that slows attack speed, like a Frozen Heart somewhere in the future, plus Anathemas versus Azir. So that might be something that you see from Sejuani. Opting for the Knight's Vow, another source of just splitting armor up, saying, all right, I'll be the front. I'll find a way to not die to Azir. Let's make sure that we're strong against the rest of the team, and we can actually try to go after Azir for these fights. Now, Azir finishing 2 items is going to be, basically for the rest of the game, going to be the highest damage source. And we have another pause. All right, we had a super long pause, so we ended up just cutting all that out. Here we go. We're resuming from here. Hopefully we don't have any more. We're straight into the Baron pit, plus an engage. They actually had to jump ahead 30 seconds from what we saw because they play a little bit ahead so that there's no playback issues, making sure that everything's set going into the broadcast. I like how they go out. They're very emphatic with this jump. Now 5v4, they're still very healthy. They also have the Radiant Virtue keeping them alive, keeping them healthy in the pit from that Sejuani ultimate. Now that said, they don't have any other tools. Oh, beautiful engage by Sven, picking everybody up. They knock, here we go, keep them on the outside of the pit. Beautifully done. So much better than what we saw in the previous game where everyone just tunneled into the corner and allowed for everyone to get into the pit. This is how it's supposed to be done. We're going to get a little review. You see how they keep this shape. You're not going to stand here and let enemy team come onto you while they're standing. All right, if they're moving forward, you just quickly jump out with the people who can jump out. You never present a target for Alistar except for this one time. They actually blast cone in, which probably made him pretty nervous. Actually, if Hong were a little bit more resilient, he might have been willing to stay there with his indomitable will. Jax really kind of punted this entire Baron by showing up this late. All right, he has no teleport and he showed up bot. That is a foul. The C9 jumps on the opportunity. They jump on the opportunity when they see the when they see the engage window, and they're able to pick up Baron for themselves. So 1.5k in the lead. The money will be in their inventory as well as they start going forward. One thing I have to remark on though, again, we see this Lucid into Void Staff and Liandry's combination. This just does not deal enough damage. Okay, I really do not like this combination. Also from Kai'Sa, this is the on-hit build that needs people to be nearby. Yes, that it works with Alistar and Jax jumping in, but that's going to be best when you have a true front to back with tank versus tank going in. This is much more about engage versus engage. And I don't know that Kai'Sa's can get all the windows that she needs to go for this. Blabber, tanky AF, is able to soak up all that damage with the aftershock, burns the flash to get out, but that is many resources used. 2 ultimates down from the side of LNG. So going into this fight, you don't have flash on Sejuani, but you do have ultimates advantage. We'll see if she spends some time picking up the red buff to get a little bit of that healing. Also getting the shield back from the Moss Stomper Seedling means that they're pretty happy. I don't like this from Cloud9. They feel like Blabber was low enough health that they had to give this. I think they could have contested. They have more golden inventory, and they have Kai'Sa who's built for these prolonged fights, and you have no ultimate from Lee Sin or Azir. That should have been a window that they could have engaged. Instead, they go up to push. They take the second best prize, which is this mid lane turret. They force enemy team to come over. They capture one person on rotation. Alistar is dead. They've got 18 seconds to themselves. Cloud9 does have a pretty good spot here. No ultimate from Sejuani. Our ultimate is down. Can't get anything. And now the Lee Sin kick is back up. A 3-man kick into a 3-man stun. This is tragedy for Cloud9. This is so bad. Gala having survived means that they are able to get this. And Gala is going to rip apart the Sven. They kill everybody but the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa will not be able to defend. We've got 35-second timers here. The base is going to be in shambles. This is going to be enough to kill at least these 2 turrets. They might try to put everyone in one lane and try to get an inhibitor down. But that is so big. Even with Alistar being shut down here, the Sejuani ult being used means that they don't have enough peel here. And look at this play by Tarzan. Oh my god, so beautiful. It's like bowling. He couldn't have lined that up better if he took the time to just put them there. Oh my gosh, hitting everybody. Just a beautiful Lee Sin diff. Those are the moments we love, guys. That is a sick play. Now, like I said, they didn't actually put everyone into one lane. Oh no, Berserker opting to try to defend. What are you doing? Oh, you're just trolling. You can never defend that. Even if it was just you against Azir, you lose that. And then you've got the rest of the team that might be there as well. Oh, Azir ends up blowing the stopwatch. Well worth it, obviously. They're going to go out, farm their way up, and pick up the rest of Zonias to make it so that they can find that way in. That's something that I love about Azirs. When you pick up Zonias, it does give you that avenue where you can be the engage. You can be the projectile that dives into the team. But man, Cloud9, how are they going to pick themselves up from this spot? That's got to be heartbreaking to have that big of a lead and to throw it away. Going to be very tough to come back from. So LNG. Gold lead, dragon lead. You're going to have a Baron coming up a minute before a dragon. We'll see how they go up. You see how they have set up all this vision for themselves. Now, one thing that we talked about during the play-in stage, Loud obviously outmatched when it came to just micro skill compared to these Eastern teams. Could not hack it at that level, but renowned within their region for late game team fighting. And one of the things that they did was they kept 3 players with trinket wards to be able to create that trap of vision, that web of vision. You see how we still have Jax, Lee Sin, multiple people who like to ward hop. They're keeping it. We do end up seeing 2 Farsight alterations, but I will be interested to see if other teams pick up that tendency, or we'll call it an adjustment, an exploitation. Now that their sweeping lens has been nerfed in its timing duration, you might have more effect by keeping out those extra wards. All right, having extra wards going into those long stalled sieges for objectives, having an extra source of a yellow trinket might matter for your team. Of course, individually, these are still better. It allows you to approach waves that you might not otherwise be able to approach. But if we're talking about a team-wide macro game, there is definite benefit to be had from keeping those keeping the trinket ward and getting that web of vision down. So we'll see what LNG does with it. They end up putting Jax out here. The other thing that's super important to recognize about this is it means that they've caught up. Jax is less than a half item behind Renekton right now, which means that he'll be happy to fight in this matchup. Also has the Black Cleaver, which means he'll rip through the plated steel caps. Years damage. We've got all this cooldown online. The Zonias is in the inventory. They're going for full spikes right now. Everything is in inventory. It looks like not even components anywhere. Everyone's sitting on basically full items. They're going to stay out on the map. You see this web of vision. They're going to start pushing up mid, fighting for mid priority so that they can get their ward line up. Rinse, repeat if you need to. Renekton's going to try to slam the door shut on them though. The correct way for out of this LNG is forward. We'll see if they go. They are well spread out. That is tough for Renekton to find their avenue. They go hard engage. Fudge is actually playing away from the wall. This is far too passive. He needs to be much more aggressive. They do get the first kill, but now it's going to be the rest of the fight. The team is going on to him. He does not have stopwatch, which means he is taken down for this fight. A little bit too passively played there by Fudge. You saw him kind of jittering right here, spending his time. That was time that LNG used. Like I said, the best way out is forward. You don't want to get collapsed on. You want to engage and you want to press forward. They end up getting the ace. They're using that to go get the Baron. They actually could have just ended right there, but this will be enough to end the game anyways. So you see this, right? If we were going to pause... At this moment, you want to take no extra damage and you need to press up with your team and actually collapse on them. You do not want to kite this way. You want to kite into the rest of their team and look for the fight here with the Renekton, with the Fury engaged, and deal for the maximum amount of damage. By moving this fight to the left, you are moving away from M&S and Berserker, your 2 big carries. So this means that LNG has uptime while you do not. This is something that has to change if you want to team fight effectively. Look how this fight slides over. Yes, sure, Kaisa can join the fight, but still, Syndra, what effectiveness does she have in the fight? Looking for 1 QE, maybe? That's it. Hasn't even cast a single spell. It's disappointing to see the team fight shape out like that. A little bit of a stretch. It looks panicked. It means that LNG just pounces on that mistake, realizes that they have way more damage uptime on their carries, and they're able to take the fight down. So props to them. They get it. They collect Baron and Dragon as their prize. They say, we are unkillable at this point. We've got Baron buff and we've got Soul. We don't need to take any risks about whether or not we can end here. We definitely can just take Baron and Soul and end from this position. Look for Jax and Azir to fix the waves before going in. It's going to be important to see that they combine the waves. You see how Jax kind of sat on the wave for a moment? You want to delay. Now you hard push as this wave is hard pushing. That way you get 2 lanes of pressure at the same time. They're going to turn that into pressure in the inner side, but they actually gave up everything in the mid. So I'd like to see an engage here from Sejuani. Not able to find it. Rakan doesn't have flash to make it happen for themselves either. That means you have to give up. We've seen it in multiple different series so far where no one takes that shot. I'm glad that at least Cloud9 is taking their shot there. Azir got away from it, but at least they took their shot. You look for one strong punch and you follow through. All right. So Mike Tyson, says you don't hit and then make contact with the face and flex. You wait until after you get there, then you push through and you try to punch their soul on the back side of their skull. That is something that comes from all sorts of martial arts and from the greatest pugilists in the history of the world. Don't just hit your target, you have to follow through. What I want from that in League of Legends means, all right, you took your punch, Azir escaped maybe, but then you don't hold back. You need to follow through, commit to that, at least erase the wave. You need to gain something. You need to deal damage now that you've struck. All right, deal some damage. Instead, they're unable to get that, which means you have multiple lanes breaking and basically the entire cave, the entire base is going to cave in under all this pressure now. Everyone has to int to win. All right, be willing to die here. Be willing to do everything you can to deal maximum amount of damage. But LNG playing this very wisely, stepping up little by little. They are playing 3v... Is it 3v4 right now? 3v3. No, 3v4. They're willing to play with the Infernal buff here. Tarzan playing up in the middle of the team. Full value Gore Drinker. Azir gets another ultimate off, and they're able to get that for themselves. Playing with the extra value of the minions means they're able to take that for themselves. Very nicely done by LNG. I'm glad Cloud9 took their shot, right? But let me back up again. After this play, okay, you don't get it, that's fine. But you need to then go and take this. You're not coming back. In no world are you ever going to be able to defend this top lane turret. So you need to continue, kill this wave, and then you can reset. That way, at least there's only 1 point of weakness, and you'll be able to come back and fight another day. All right. Either that, or maybe you can find this kill onto Azir under some miracle. Probably not going to happen. Azir still has tools available, still has ultimate for self-peel, obviously still has this. But at least you're taking away that extra source that they're going to be using to break your base. Buy yourself 30 seconds. Let top break, and that's fine. Live another day. Try to survive. And at least this inhibitor will be respawning at the same time as the Elder Dragon. You can make a play there. So that's what I mean by following through. Try to take something, deal damage. It's always about tempo. Like, what can you do by saying, oh, wait, let me snap back my punch. Let me undo what I tried to do. Now you've just given everything to them. You have no potential energy. You have no active energy. It means that the enemy team's just able to bring in the top wave, break that down, bring in the mid wave, break that down, come into your base and break that down.